let's rank the Champions League favourites and focused on who is the best team in Europe right now. We've reached a pivotal stage of the Champions League group stage. Match day 4 is in the books. I mean, it was crazy. There were some wild games there. 5 teams have officially booked their spot in the last 16, and another few are looking pretty good as well. But Napoli, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Manchester City, and Club Brugge are the 5th team to make it to the last 16. Bruges, for the first time in their history as a club to make it into the last 16 in Champions League, is an incredible achievement for them. Nick, I'm going to come to you first. What do we make of the Champions League this year? Generally, it's, again, been strange. It's been condensed into every week. There's been games midweek, but that's added an extra spice and an extra kick to it, I think.
Yeah, you always kind of wonder, and I know that the managers hate it, but why it wouldn't be like this anyway. I think it's a truer test of this sort of European depth of who is the best club, because they're dealing with this massive congestion. And when I start to look through the teams and I look through the usual suspects, so to speak, it does seem like there's a flip-flop from last season. I think we were all kind of hyping Bayern Munich. And understandably, because they have won before, they've done the job, and they had a center forward, and it just seemed like as long as they don't fall apart over 2 legs, they'll be fine. And the question with Man City was, do they have a striker to do it? We know they have the depth, and it just feels a total flip-flop, because those are the 2 teams I keep looking at. And now, if not for the fact that Man City's never won this thing, you'd almost be feeling like, who is going to take this team down? But that specter looms. The same time when we talked about Man City to win the Premier League, when will they get unduly or duly focused on the European Cup? And when that happens, what will happen to their season?
It's very true. I think it's really good, I think, that some of these teams like City, like Napoli, like Bayern, now that they can just focus pretty much domestically. They know they're in the last 16. They're going to pretty much have top spot sealed in those groups. So, Andy, it's been some surprise packages, though. I said Club Brugge, excellent, great young team. Simon Mignolet rolling back the years, and sensational to get out of that group so early with Porto, Atletico, and Leverkusen. Mm-hmm. But Napoli have been pretty much the story of the tournament, right? I mean, ripping it up, scoring 17 goals in their 4 games, all of them wins, sitting pretty above Liverpool. And not an easy group either. So is there anyone that's really stood out to you? Has that been the team that stood out to you so far in the tournament?
Yeah, I think so, for the way that their summer went and how many players left the club for as much money as it did. They reinvested a good amount of it. I think they still had a net positive transfer incoming this summer, and to then just roll right into the season, into the Champions League, into a tough group as they've done, the way that they looked against Liverpool, I think probably the most, aside from Bruges, because any kind of an underdog story like that, I think, is always going to top everything else. But as for a team that has just simply performed to a level that nobody thought possible, it is the group stage. It's important to remember that things change drastically when we get out to the knockout stages. So I don't think anybody's quite picking Napoli to win the Champions League yet this season, but they have been an incredible watch. The final 2 match days coming up, if your team's not in it, if you don't have a game that you're particularly interested in, just watch the way that they play, the style, the tactics, the way that they move the ball, the way that they spread the field, they play quickly. It's really entertaining to watch. And then, what can you say about Bruges? I mean, you've got a club of that size, the resources that they've got, playing in the domestic league there in Belgium. It is so difficult for those teams because the level of competition they face on a weekly basis is just nowhere near what you see when you go into the Champions League group stage. And it doesn't matter if you've got a difficult group or an easy group by group stage or by Champions League standards, it's going to be a big step up. So massive credit to them. Let's see if they can get one of the big boys in the knockout rounds and knock somebody out. That would, I think, be the thing that people would remember above all, if you can go into the knockout rounds and knock off one of the giants.
And I think I said to you guys before, but Bruges is one of my favorite cities in the world. Yeah. So definitely anybody watching this, head to Bruges if you get the opportunity. From London, it's really easy just to jump on the train, and you can be, in London in the afternoon, and in the evening having a beer in Bruges, having a good time. And the people there are great. The fans are incredibly passionate. And it's been really fun to see their rise in this. And Andy, great point on Napoli. They remind me of 5 years ago, the Ajax team that got all the way to the semi-finals, the way they play, open, attractive, gung-ho. Mm-hmm. And to do that after losing Koulibaly, Lorenzo Insigne, and Dries Mertens, and bringing the players they have on the budget they have, oh, what a job Spalletti's doing there. Absolutely sensational. Nick, let's focus now on the big hitters. I mean, as you said, Napoli are through, Bayern are through, obviously Real Madrid are through, Man City are through, PSG are nearly there. Is there a clear favourite yet? Should we have a go at ranking sort of the top 3 or 4 teams that we think are the favourites to win it? I think we'd all agree that Man City and probably Bayern Munich are right now right at the very top. But is there anybody else for you? I'm looking at obviously the Premier League teams or the reigning champs, Real Madrid. No one's really talking about them at all again, but they're unbeaten, they're through, and then obviously in La Liga, they're doing pretty well as well. So any teams for you that are really, really looking like they're going to win this thing?
Well, I think Man City is the one that I can't help but go back to. Again, I mentioned before what's looming over them, but moving beyond them, Real Madrid is kind of like Liverpool for the past few years in the sense that I'm just done thinking that they can't win. And in fact, I might even say this. Look, I want to put this out there. I want to jump you guys on this because you guys have had that sort of early call before. If Liverpool coming out of there as a number 2, as an unseeded team, is going to be a nightmare for somebody, assuming they put it together because they keep putting together goals. And I started to think about it that way when you asked the question, who is the team that I least want to draw? Who is the team that I least want to draw? And I think it has to be Real Madrid, honestly. I don't think I want anything to do with a team that's been there, done that. Vinny Jr. looks ridiculous right now. They still have Cruz holding court. The question will be filling Casemiro's spot, honestly, once it gets to those final rounds. He's been so important in those games when they needed to stop, and him and Cruz together have been almost unstoppable. So I have questions about Bayern because of the center forward thing, because of no Lewandowski. I have questions about Man City just because they haven't done it yet. And I know that's a silly thing to say when a different team is around every year, but it's just a huge question that it's the entire club's focus, isn't it? Like, isn't that the goal for Man City right now? And that has to loom over your every day.
Yeah, I don't think it's silly to say that though, because it is Man City and it's also Pep. It's been 11 years. It'll be 12 years by the time we get to the final of this year's Champions League since he's won it at Barcelona. He had those amazing, great, dominant, untouchable teams in the Bundesliga at Bayern Munich. Couldn't get it done. He's had a couple of teams now that we have mentioned as this an all-time great team since he's been at City. And I know the rigors of playing in the Premier League every single weekend and then the Champions League. I understand the added difficulty that is there, but if it wasn't this club and if it wasn't this manager, I don't think there would be any discussion. We would be saying, well, they probably won it last season. They're probably going to win it this season. They're probably going to win it next season. Like, this would be, I think, the Man City dynasty in Europe if it wasn't for, and it sounds wrong to say it, but if Pep wasn't the manager and hadn't cost them a couple of a semifinal and a quarterfinal the last couple of years, they probably have one, if not two already, and they're probably looking for a third. So I don't think that's as crazy to say until we actually see them go out there and do it.
Obviously, the Erling Haaland factor, right? That's the difference for City this year, and that's why they're feared across Europe of his strike rate and the amount of goals he scores every single time he steps on the pitch in any competition, but especially the Champions League. He's just ripped that apart since day one. So we're going Man City, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and then I'm looking at, Tottenham, Chelsea, Liverpool. I think Tottenham, Antonio Conte, the way that they've been playing tactically, Andy, he's never done well in the Champions League as a coach. It doesn't seem to suit him well. But I just feel like if you can stay in games, if they do get through to the last 16, which it looks like they will, with Son and Kane, I mean, that's going to strike the fear of God into most teams on the counter-attack in those knockout game situations. So I think that could be an issue for teams. Nick, you're spot on about Liverpool. We saw that against Rangers, right? In 45 minutes, they can just blow a team away up top. And then Chelsea as well. I think they've got the capability with their experience and their squad and the way that Potter is rotating to go a long way. So I think there is Premier League teams, I think there's a lot of positivity around how they can get on in the Champions League. But Bayern, Real Madrid, and then I do think Napoli can stay into the latter stages of the tournament, and then it's just going to be injuries, right? Availability, form, and all the rest of it. So,
Joe, Chelsea's just as a quick thought, Chelsea's won this tournament before. They've done it with a coaching change in season, and a lot of these players have done it. So I guess I wouldn't rule them out, especially mentioning how much I like Potter. And then one thought on Tottenham: how different are they right now than PSG in terms of having an incredible strike unit, but you're worried about the rest behind it a little bit? And so I guess I would just say either of those teams, Tottenham or PSG, could catch lightning in a bottle given the right draw.
Great. I was going to mention PSG, but it got mixed up in there. So the fact, Messi, Mbappe, and Neymar, when they get going, it's just game over for most teams. But done okay in the group stage, obviously looking like they're going to go through as well. And it's all just about getting through and then kicking on in early part of next year when the knockout rounds are here. So some surprise stories. Obviously, Club Brugge going through. Barcelona looks like they're not going to be going through, which will have huge financial ramifications, it seems, for the club there. And we'll talk about that, I'm sure, in the weeks and months to come and see how that unfolds. But exciting times in the Champions League for sure. And here at Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com, we'll keep you updated with all the latest from the Champions League. Still a lot to be sorted out in the final group stage games, but there are some teams are through, some teams that are looking really good. And I like our rankings there, lads, of those teams who are set, I think, to go all the way or get really, really close in the European elite competition this season.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.